Hammock time. This hat is not good for hammock time. If you're wondering if I'm a farmer, like sometimes I wonder if I'm a farmer, check this out. Farmer confirmed. Here. Hammock time. That's better. That's better. Look at that. That's a good view. So, it's time for another hammock time. This hat is really inconvenient for this hammock, but I'm gonna wear it anyway because it's my farmer hat, and it's gonna have to do. So I went into town today, and I noticed that what everybody else is seeing too, that there was no gas at the gas station, or any of the gas stations in the area. So we are completely out of gas in this area. Now, luckily, several days ago, I went and picked up some gas, and I got some extra gas in a couple of 5-gallon buckets. So, and my truck is completely full. Car's not, but the truck is. So I've got gas, and it'll be fine for now. This will probably won't last forever, but for now it's a temporary shortage. And it does make you think about a lot of things. You need gas. You need gas quite often. There's a lot of things that I use gas for here that without gas would be very difficult to do. Using a tiller. It uses gas. Not a lot of gas, but it does use gas. Mowing all of this grass, not this stuff. Although this takes gas too. But I have a ton of grass to mow in our yard. And it grows quickly. So, 3 weeks or so, it can get out of hand. Now, it was worse when we got here, so that's not the end of the world. But it really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Shortages are pretty easy to come by. Kind of an interesting thing I learned many years ago is that in America, if truckers went on strike for 3 days, that most of the shelves in the grocery store will be completely empty. 3 days. Because people don't realize, because the grocery store looks really full, how often those supplies are replenished. And if they're not being replenished, how quickly they'll go dry. And we saw some of that last year at the beginning of the pandemic. Oddly, it was with toilet paper was the major concern. Strangely enough. People were more worried about wiping their butt than they were feeding themselves, I guess. I don't know. Strange. I mean, wiping your butt's important. So. But really, it was about panic buying. And that created a major shortage of toilet paper. It should have been a lesson to people of how quickly the things that you need can disappear. Most of us live where we go to the grocery store every week or two. And we pick up things that we need from the grocery store. And we use those. And then every week or two we go back and we get more. And that's how that works. But what happens if you can't anymore? What happens if there's nothing there? And it's the same for you as it is for everyone else that's around you. Now, it takes a while for people to starve. And it takes a whole lot of bad things happening for people to starve here. There's only so much room for panic. But there's some. Now, we are not preppers by any stretch of the imagination. We don't prep, per se. We don't call ourselves preppers. We don't espouse to be preppers in any way. But maybe we are in some ways. Because we do buy in bulk. And we do like to keep things stocked up in case something happens. But I'm not planning for the apocalypse. I'm not planning for, The Walking Dead or anything like that. Or maybe I am, and I just didn't know it. We're growing a really big garden now. That does nothing for us right now. I mean, I can eat some radishes, but I'm not going to survive on radishes alone. But by the end of the season, we'll have enough food to feed ourselves. And we can continue to do that. So that's kind of neat. And we'll be able to preserve food this year so that over winter, when we can't really grow food, or at least not as much food, um, that we have something to eat before we start this cycle over again next year. But without gas, everything's going to be done manually. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. There are ways to get most things done. But what if you didn't have electricity? Oh, man. Makes you think. Well, you got to have electricity. Everything works on electricity. So can you get electricity? Well, you can get a generator where that works on gas. So now you got to have gas, but you don't have gas. So your generator doesn't do any good. You got some solar panels? That's a definite way to get some solar energy. But you got to have batteries. And those batteries do last a while, but they don't last forever. There's been a lot of times in my life where I've thought about, and this is a weird thing, I guess, but I've thought about if I traveled back in time to the 1600s, they'd probably ask a lot of questions. They might just kill me on the spot. How would I tell them how to do anything? All the things we've learned as a society, how would I tell them how to do any of that? Truth is, I don't really know all of that. I know a lot of things. How do you make electricity? How do you generate it and then contain it without on a personal level? And maybe you don't. Shortages of gas mean that shortages of anything can happen, and everyone should be aware of that. And all you're really doing is kind of jumping a gap usually, but you have no idea how long that gap's going to be. That gap could be a week. It could be 2 years. Now, we like to think that somebody's going to take care of that. Somebody will solve this problem, right? And they probably would, because there will be so much outrage they'll want to solve the problem. But what if they can't solve the problem? Because what if the problem is bigger than a decision by a public official? We bought this land last year during COVID, not because of COVID. And right now, I'll tell you this is a time I am very happy that we bought it. I couldn't be more happy. I am happy with it. I mean, sometimes I sit out here and I tear up at how much I love this place already. It's almost saving our lives in different ways because it is changing who we are as people. It's changing how we act. It's changing how we look at things in the world. And it's changing how directly involved we are in our own survival. And that's not just, food and things like that. It's exercise, health of ourselves. It gives you a renewed focus on trying to take care of yourself, which I did not really have before. And I realize not everyone has this or can have this. A lot of people don't want this. I mean, some people don't, and I don't blame them. There's nothing wrong with not wanting this. So what are you going to do if the stores run out of things, the gas stations run out, there are no grocery stores, the gas runs out and the truckers can't deliver goods? That scenario, pay attention to that. If the truckers can't deliver the goods that they need to the store, and so we have supply chain issues, what are you going to do? If you looked in your cupboard right now, how many meals would you have? And then look at your family and say, well, how many people am I here to feed? And if you don't have enough, I'd suggest one of the things is to make sure you know your neighbors. Because when things fall down in our society, you won't completely go into chaos. What will happen is communities will come together. Local communities, not communities as a word we use all over the internet, but local communities will come together. They'll have to survive. We won't fall back to cavemen. We'll fall back to local civilization where you and your neighbors used to talk, and you and your neighbors would trade and help each other out. And now, hey, none of this is going to happen, right? Everything's going to be just fine. We're gonna just get through it all like we usually do. But I do worry a little bit about people. I think about my friends and family and what would happen to them. Are they ready for things like that? And if they're not, will they expect me to be ready for them? Should I be? Is that my place? Can I be? I don't think so. I know too many people. I'd help whoever I can. Whenever I need to do something, it just kind of happens. And I don't know why. I don't think I have that much good karma. Or I don't deserve that much good karma, but for some reason, it just seems to happen. Not that everything's perfect by any stretch, but maybe it's just I focus on the things that need to happen. Been out in the garden this morning, throwing poop in the field, tilling it in, getting ready to plant corn and okra. The birds don't care. The birds don't know that there's a fuel shortage. So nothing's changed to them. I was thinking about the Amish in the area too. It's probably not affecting them very much either. There's a lot of people out there who are absolute preppers, who are, doomsday's right around the corner every time you look. And there may be one day, and they'll be geniuses when it happens, right? They're the I told you so's of the world. But we're not those people. And we never will be those people. No matter what happens, this is it for us. This is where we make our stand. And this is where we try to survive. My little sister said she's going to come out and visit us in June. She said she wants to walk over here and say the line from the movie Field of Dreams and say, "Is this heaven?" And I'm supposed to say, "No, it's Virginia." But I'm not so sure it's not.